Welcome to the Love Mondays podcast. My goal is to bring inspiring and authentic guests on the show who can help us all love our Mondays and every other day of the week. Today, I'm beyond thrilled to welcome a legend in the world of coaching and leadership. Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, often called the #1 executive coach in the world. He's coached over 200 of the world's CEOs, including transformational leaders like Alan Mulally at Ford. He's a two-time #1 leadership thinker. He's been inducted into the Thinkers50 Hall of Fame and honored with a Lifetime Achievement Awards from institutions like Harvard's Institute of Coaching. He's authored or edited over 47 books, including highly influential bestsellers like What Got You Here Won't Get You There, Triggers, Mojo, How Women Rise, and The Earned Life, selling millions of copies across 30 plus languages. With a following of 1.3 million on LinkedIn, his wisdom and guidance have influenced leaders around the globe. Marshall, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
Amazing. And so one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to give our mutual friend, Gary Ridge, credit, because I asked you 3 years ago if you could be on the podcast and you were so gracious. And I know you're doing a lot of work with AI and so many other things. You said, check with me in a year. And so I've been checking with you for 3 years, and I finally got Gary, who's amazing, and he asked you to join me. So a huge thanks to both of you, and Gary's such an upstanding individual. I thought I'd give him credit for that.
Oh, Gary's just a great guy, and he is a very inspirational leader, and he's having a great time now in his new role.
Amazing. So my first question, Marshall, is how can folks who maybe don't love their Mondays and every other day start to love a little bit more?
Well, I think one thing I'm going to say is quite different because we're looking for the answer out there as opposed to looking the answer in here. We're focused too much on how can I love it? We're focused too much on the it part of the answer and not enough on the I part of the answer. Well, a lot of life is internal. And for example, you want to be happier, ask yourself a question every day. Did I do my best to be happy today? Did I even try to be happy? Well, you might think automatically we try to be happy. No, we don't. Our default reaction in life is not to be happy or find peace. Our default reaction in life is inertia. We do what we've been doing. So every day, did I do my best to be happy today? Did I do my best to be engaged today? So one thing I do recommend is 6 questions every day. Every day you start with, did I do my best to set clear goals today? Not as a human being, but today. And they all begin with, did I do my best to? Now, see, the reason I like that, my daughter Kelly taught this, she's a professor at Vanderbilt, is you can't blame someone else. Did I do my best? That's me. Did I do my best to set clear goals? 2, did I do my best to make progress toward these goals I set? 3, did I do my best to find meaning? Rather than waiting for the world to give you meaning, did I do my best every day to find meaning? 4, did I do my best to be happy? 5, did I do my best to build positive relationships? And 6, did I do my best to be fully engaged? So rather than waiting for the world to engage you, waiting for your manager to motivate you, look in the mirror.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, to say it. It's our attitude, our approach that makes a huge difference. And the discipline of those 6 questions. So is this something you do every morning, every night?
I do it in the morning for the previous day.
Amazing. And one of the things I've heard on many podcasts that you give is that I know you might still have this person who calls you every day
I have somebody
to go through the questions.
And 2 of the days I don't do that, I don't do as well.
Amazing. Can you tell me why you have somebody call?
Yeah, it's very simple. My name is Marshall. I am too cowardly and undisciplined to do any of the stuff I teach by myself. I need help, and it's okay. It's okay. I love that I need help. I'm not better than my clients.
I love that.
Better than Gary Ridge or Alan Mulally or Aubert or Albert Burla or any of the other wonderful people. I'm not better than these people. If they didn't need help, why'd they hire me for?
Yeah, I love your humility with that answer, but it's true. We're all humans and we have tendencies to procrastinate or avoid. And I love the fact that you're saying, look, here's the 6 questions, and I have somebody to hold me accountable for those. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's hard. By the way, it is a discipline, and any discipline by definition is a discipline. If it were easy, I wouldn't have to have somebody call me every day. It's hard
Uh,
to look in the mirror. By the way, anybody that tells me what I just said is easy has proven one thing to me. You've never done this before.
yes.
You think it's easy? You try it 2 or 3 years, send me an email. Tell me how easy it is. It's not easy. It is embarrassing to look in the mirror every day. See, we all have these wonderful glowing stories about who we are. We're these wonderful people and we do this and that and we're transforming this and blah, blah, blah. Talk. Look in the mirror every day. How many times do you make nasty comments about other people? How many times do you stab somebody in the back? How many times do you say or do something you shouldn't have done? We all do every day. We're humans, right? And really just accepting our humanity. We're not these little godlike figures dancing around through life. We're just humans here. And as humans, we're having good days, you have bad days.
Yeah, I know. I love that. And, to build on that, I know you pretty much give away.
All right, I'm going to
the
teach you
per-
something. Now, I just said so. I'm going to teach you something. I teach all my clients. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ready for some coaching?
I love some coaching.
Good. I said something that you agreed with. And what were the first 2 words out of your mouth?
I think I said, I love that.
You said, yeah, no, I love that. Why did you say no?
It's subconscious. I didn't even realize I said no.
Well, I think you're making a copy of this so you can go back and listen. I do this with my clients all the time. The most common phrase uttered by smart people when people tell us something we agree with is, no, I agree with you. Or in your case, yeah, no, I love that. It's a habit of smart people. When somebody tells us something we already know and agree with, rather than just saying great idea, we point out we already knew it. I find my clients $20 every time they begin a sentence with no, but, or however when I talk to them. So one guy was stubborn. I'm going to his feedback report. He said, but Marshall, I said, that's free. If I ever talk to you again, you start a sentence with no, but, or however, I'm going to find you $20. He said, but Marshall, 20, no, 40, no, 60, 80, 100. He lost $420 in an hour and a half. At the end of the hour and a half, you know what he said? Thank you. He said, I did that 21 times with you throwing it in my face. How many times write it down? And had you not been throwing it in my face? 50, 100? No wonder people think I'm stubborn. All I do is prove I'm right and they're wrong over and over again.
Yeah, it's the patterns that we have, I guess, that it's breaking patterns. And the other message I got from that is words matter. The words we utter matter.
Of course. And if somebody says something you agree with, the word no doesn't connote agreement.
So tell me about your book. What got you here won't get you there. It's a beautiful book, and I work with a lot of call it individual contributors who get promoted to a manager, and then it's a different skill set they need, or they're in a senior leadership position and now they're in the C-suite.
Right.
What are some things they can do to really get there? And tell me a little bit more about the genesis of the book.
Well, I mean, Peter Drucker, I'm very fortunate. One of my mentors was Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker is the father of modern management. Now, I'm a smart person. I got ranked #1 leadership thing in the world twice. I'm not putting myself down. My intellect compared to Peter Drucker was that of a 10-year-old. Now, I'm smart. I'm not saying ballpark as he was. He was a brilliant man. And he taught me so many things. When he said, we spend a lot of time teaching leaders what to do, we do not spend enough time teaching leaders what to stop. He said, half the leaders I meet, they don't need to learn what to do. They need to learn what to stop. That one comment led to the book. And really, it's such a helpful comment because we don't think about teaching people what to stop doing. So I gave you one example already. People talk to you, don't say no, but, or however. Simple. One of the most common is I was interviewing the Harvard Business Review and asked, what is the #1 problem? Back to your good point comment about moving up. What's the #1 problem with that transition, those successful people you work with? My answer, winning too much. Now, what's that mean? If it's important, we want to win. If it's meaningful, we want to win. If it's critical, we want to win. If it's trivial, we want to win. And if it's not worth it, we want to win anyway. Winners love winning. It's hard for winners not to win. Now, a case study we discussed before we went on is, you want to go to dinner at restaurant X. Your husband, wife, or partner wants to go to Y. You have an argument. You go to Y. It was not your choice. Option A, shut up. You don't like the food. Shut up. Eat the stupid food. Try to enjoy it. Have a nice night. Option B, critique the food. Point out our partner was wrong. This mistake could have been avoided. It was me. What would I do? What should I do? Almost all of us, we do. We critique the stupid food. Shut up. The right answer is just shut up. You don't have to critique the food. Another case study we talked about is you have a hard day at work. A hard day. You come home. Your husband, wife, or partner's there. The other person goes, I had such a hard day today. That's such a tough day. And we go, you had a hard day. You had a hard day. You have any idea what I had to put up with today? You think you had a hard day? We're so competitive. We have to prove we are more miserable than the people we live with. I gave this example to my class at the Dartmouth Tuck School. Young man raised his hand and said, I did that last week. I asked him, what happened? I said, my wife looked at me and said, honey, you just think you've had a hard day. It is not over.
So what are some of the other things that we have to stop doing? I love that.
Well, when you get, every time you get promoted, this next thing gets more and more real. Another good coaching client of mine is J.P. Garnier. J.P. was the CEO of a company called GlaxoSmithKline, huge company. So I asked J.P., what did you learn about leadership as the CEO of this huge company? He said, I learned a very hard lesson. My suggestions become orders. My suggestions become orders. And I said, if they're smart, they're orders. If they're stupid, they're orders. And if I want them to be orders, they're orders. And if I do not want them, they're orders anyway. For 9 years, I trained the admirals of the U.S. Navy. What is the first thing I teach the new admirals? You get that star? Your suggestions become orders. Admirals do not make suggestions. When an admiral makes a suggestion, what is the response? Aye, sir. That suggestion becomes an order. I asked JP, what'd you learn from me when I was your coach that helped you the most? He said, you taught me one lesson that helped me be a better leader and have a happier life. One lesson. I said, what was it? He said, before I speak, breathe and ask myself one question. Is it worth it? And he said, it's a big company. 50% of the time, if I had the discipline to stop and breathe and say, is it worth it? What did I decide? Am I right? Maybe. Is it worth it? No. Now, you mentioned Alan Mulally. Brilliant man. He has a great discipline. As a CEO, someone asked him, Alan, what do you think of this? Before he would ever give a suggestion, you know what his first question is there anyone in the company can answer this question better than me? If there is, let's talk to that person, not me. Very smart, because if he made a suggestion, what would happen? Yes, sir, Mr. CEO. Every time you get promoted, this becomes more real. One of the things I teach is don't add too much value. I'm young, smart, enthusiastic. I come to you with an idea. You think it's a great idea. Our tenants, that's a nice idea. Why don't you add this to it? The quality of the idea may go up 5%. My commitment to execute just went down 50%. It's no longer my idea, boss man. Now it's your idea. Very hard for smart people not to add value constantly.
So what would be an alternate response in that case?
Shut up. Listen. If the idea is very close to what you want to do anyway, you know what you say? Just say, great idea. Now, if it's important, you have to deal with it. I'm not saying never add value. JP did not say he never added value. What did he say? Half the time he didn't add value. A good question. Is my comment going to improve your commitment? Is my comment going to increase or decrease your commitment? Well, if my comment is going to decrease your commitment, then I'm going to ask, is it worth making? So your report to me, you got an idea, it's your idea. All of a sudden I start talking. That's my idea. Your commitment goes like that. See, the quality may go up 5%. Your commitment may go down 50%.
Yeah, that's a great question. And combined with your advice to breathe, right? And just think through that. And that's got to be a hard discipline for folks who are used to doing all the talking. And some organizations that I've worked for, there's an expectation that the leader does that talking. So how do you start adjusting to this approach, which I love?
What you have to learn is every time you get promoted, all the stuff I'm teaching gets more and more real. If you're a young engineer, proving how smart you are and right you are is not a bad idea. You're a CEO, proving how smart you are and how right you are is a disaster idea.
So tell me a little bit more about Alan Mulally. I know you refer to him a lot, and I love the story you tell where they were losing $17 billion a quarter. Can you tell how he kind of worked through that situation and how he changed the culture?
Well, Alan, just not a good leader, an amazing leader. He goes to Ford, the stock is 101. He leaves at 1840, went up 1,837%. He was CEO of the Year in the United States, ranked number 3 best leader in the world by not only the Pope and Angela Merkel. He, even more impressive, 97% approval rating from every employee in a union company. There's a CEO. United Auto Workers, 97% approval. That does not happen. That doesn't. Good is not the right word. Amazing is a better word. An amazing, amazing guy. So he goes to Ford. They're losing $17 billion. First thing he says, everybody give me your top 5 priorities, red, yellow, green. Green, I'm on plan. Yellow, I'm not on plan, but I have a strategy. And red, I'm not on plan, I have no strategy. The first meeting, the top 16 people in the company, 5 priorities each, red, yellow, green, 80 priorities, all green. Everything is green. So Alan says, well, let's see. We're losing $17 billion and we're going bankrupt. And everyone is on plan. I think this might not be a good plan. This is a bad plan. If we're all on plan, we're on plan to go bankrupt here. Maybe we should revise the plan. Well, finally, somebody said red. Alan stands up and applauds. See, they had been brought up with a stupid message that many leaders get. You know what the message is? Never come to me if you have a problem. Only come to me if you have a solution. That is idiotic advice. I'm a CEO. You have a problem. You don't have a solution. What's the message? Hide it. I told you, don't come to me. You don't have a solution. Me barking at you is not going to make a solution. Hide it. Guess what they were doing? Hide it. But see, you can't hide losses. And sometimes you got to face reality here.
Yeah, his book, American Icon, is such a gem. And I read through that story, and I do an annual lecture at our university for 1,200 students, University of Toronto. And I tell this exact story. Yeah. And it's powerful because I've actually been in boardrooms where the leader actually told everybody, no gap, no yap. Meaning, if you don't have a gap, you get a pass. And it's completely the opposite of the philosophy where I agree with you. Leaders have to help solve problems, or you end up with hiding the problems like you talked about.
Exactly.
So last week I was talking to a friend, Vanessa, and she was telling me how your book, How Women Rise, has completely changed her life. Can you tell me a little bit more about that book and maybe some of the top habits that hold people back?
Well, that's a very interesting, it's parallel to what got you here, what was there, yet very different. You see, what got you here won't get you there is my experience working with very high-level executives. And although I try to be open-minded, if you look at my career, most of these people were men. Now, I worked the disproportionate number of women, but still, most CEOs at those days were men. Most of my clients were men, and the women I did coach did not need to go through the assertive training program, I can guarantee you. So the problems I discuss in the book were problems of these very, very successful people. Sally said, she's a world's expert on women in leadership, and a friend of mine, I've known her for over 25 years. She said, look, many of the women I coach have some of the opposite of some of these problems. See, what got you here won't get you there. Basically, it's overselling. Try to be right. You try to win too much. You try to prove yourself when you don't have to. Many of the women she's worked with undersell. They don't promote themselves enough. And that book really focuses on those issues, which are quite different. Now, I'm going to ramble around a little bit and make my point. In another book I wrote called The Earned Life, I have a section that says credibility must be earned twice. A very important point. credibility must be earned twice. Part of credibility is you do great work. The second part is you are recognized for doing great work. Those are not the same thing. And some people have this ridiculous belief, my good work will speak for itself. That is childish nonsense. If your good would speak for itself, no company would have a marketing function. That's insane. My good work will speak for itself. No, it won't. That's silly. That's childish. Well, credibility must be earned twice. Part of credibility is write a great book. Another part of credibility is someone reads it. Now, you can look at my books. I've sold 4 million books. Let me give an example about books. How many books are on Amazon a day? How many books are on Amazon? Probably close to this number today. Any guesses to the answer?
It's got to be 100 million. I don't know. It's
32.8 million. And of those 32.8 million, how many do you have to sell to be in the top half in 1 year? The answer is 2.
Wow.
Half of them sold 0 or 1 copy last year. It doesn't mean they're not good books. That's 16.4 million books. I am not arrogant enough to believe my books are better than 16.4 million other books. Many of those books are better than anything I ever dreamed of. Nobody bought them. Part of credibility is you write a good book. The second part is somebody buys it. Well, in How Women Rise, we talk a lot about 3 questions, really, I find, for anyone listening, by the way, who maybe is a coach, maybe doesn't express themselves enough, maybe underpromotes themselves. 3 questions. 1, Peter Drucker said, we're here on earth to make a positive difference, not to prove we're smart, not to prove we're right. 2, every decision in life is made by the person who has the power to make the decision, make peace with that. 3, if I need to influence you and you have the power to make the decision, there's one word to describe you, that word is customer. One word to describe me, that word is salesperson. 4, customers don't have to buy, salespeople have to sell. 5, sell what you can sell, change what you can change, and make peace with what you can't sell. Now, many coaches that I work with, I've worked with hundreds, thousands of coaches. Most of them are really good about part of credibility, doing great work. They're really bad about the other part, marketing, being recognized for doing great work. That's why a lot of coaches make no money. They're no good at building their brands. So when I work with coaches, I ask them 3 questions. Question 1, if you became more powerful and influential, would the world be worse off or better off? They invariably say, better off.
Better.
I say, I agree. Most of you are very good people. 2, just trying to become more powerful, influential, promoting yourself, does it make you feel uncomfortable? Does it make you uncomfortable? I go, yes, it makes me very uncomfortable. Question 3, what's more important to you? Making a positive difference in the world or being comfortable? Oh, you want to be comfortable? Quit complaining. You're not a hero. You don't have the guts to go for it because it makes you uncomfortable. Grow up. You got to learn how to sell. You don't want to learn how to sell? Don't expect everybody to recognize you.
Amazing. So tell me about your story. Like, how did you start selling yourself? I know you talk about many of your first books only sold to your family.
Long before that. I mean, look, I agree with Elon Musk totally on one thing. Elon Musk said, I have the world's greatest superpower, luck. Why am I a success? I am lucky. Anybody that says very successful says they're not lucky is just arrogant. I'm ridiculously lucky. I'm 28 years old. I got a PhD from UCLA. I meet Dr. Paul Hersey. He and Ken Blanchard founded Situational Leadership. Dr. Paul Hersey is a big deal. I am not a big deal. He's kind enough to let me sit in the back of the room. I said, look, man, I want to be that guy when I grow up. That guy's good. I said, look, Paul, you let me sit in the back of the room. I'll serve the coffee, move the tables. I don't care. I just want to learn to do what you do. Smartest thing I ever did. One day he got double booked. He said, can you do what I do? I said, I don't know. He said, I got to have help. Can you do it? Ken Blanchard can't do it. Can you do it? I said, I don't know. He said, look, I'll pay you $1,000 for one day if you can do this. Now, you got to realize I'm from a small town called Valley Station, Kentucky. First 4 years of school, we had an outhouse. We didn't have indoor plumbing. $1,000 a day, 47 years ago? Are you kidding me? I said, I'll try, sir. I go do a program for Metropolitan Life in New York. They are pissed off because I'm not him. 2-week program, I was ranked #1 of all the speakers. So I'm funny, telling jokes, having a good time. It was boring, showing PowerPoint slides. I said, we love this kid. Send him again. Bring him back. So he calls him up, right, waiting to get his butt handed to him. I said, look, well, we were upset, but this kid came in first place. Send him again. He calls me up and says, you want to do this again? I said, Paul, I'm making $15,000 a year. You're paying me $1,000 a day. Do I want to do this again? Yes, sir. My calendar just cleared. You signed me up, coach. That's how I got into leadership development. Coaching the same way. I'm working with the CEO of a big company. He said, I got this kid working for us, young, smart, dedicated, driven to achieve, jerk. He's arrogant. It would be worth a fortune if you could help me turn that kid around. I said, I like fortunes. Maybe I could help him. He said, I doubt it. I came up with an idea. I will work with this kid for a year. If he gets better, pay me. You don't get better, it's all free. You got nothing to lose. You know what he said? Sold. There was nothing called coaching. There was no field of coaching. I just made it up. You know what? He got better and I got paid. For 45 years as a coach, I did not get paid 1 cent if my clients didn't get better. And I didn't get paid at all. It wasn't money back guaranteed. There was no money to get. I didn't even get paid anything till the end of the project.
Yeah, I love your coaching process. And, it starts with feedback, right? And I know you interview up to 18 people for a coaching assignment. Can you tell me why that works?
Well, feedback and feed forward, I'll talk about both. Because sometimes people say that I'm against feedback, which is not true. My clients all get confidential feedback. Confidential feedback. I interview every one of my clients. I say, and I don't tell them, they tell me. The fewest I've ever interviewed is 8, and the most is 40. The average is about 18. That's a lot of people. I ask 5 questions. What's this person doing well? What's the person need to do better? What brings out the best in them, brings out the worst in them, and what ideas do you have for them on any topic, personal, family, anything, any topic. I take notes. These reports are brutal. Most people have never heard this at that level. They're not used to getting this kind of feedback. Then I go over the report and say, look, okay, now you got a choice. This is the way the world sees you. What do you want to do about it? And if the person is the CEO, the board has to approve what I'm doing. If the person is not the CEO has to approve what I'm doing. Well, then I say, look, here's the behavior you and the board agree is important. Here's how much money I'm going to get if you get better. Is it worth the money? Well, fine. You can't lose. Get better, pay me. Don't get better, it's free. Not as judged by you, by all these people that you and the board have selected. I got many problems in life. One problem I never had, guts. How many coaches would do what I just described? Virtually none.
Yeah, I love that.
They're not going to put all the money on the table.
Yeah, I love that. It shows how much you believed in the process. And when you first did it, it must have been a little nerve-wracking, but I know now you've seen it works, right? And the feed forward concept, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, feed forward is after they get feedback, they don't ask for more feedback. Feed forward. Now, in feed forward, you don't ask for feedback. So let's imagine I'm the CEO and you're my stakeholder. I'd say, Mr. Stakeholder, we're going through this coaching process with Marshall. First, thank you so much for talking to him. I know you're busy. You invested some time to help me. Thank you. Second, a lot of my feedback is positive. And then they talk about all the good things and appreciate why the good things are there. Then they don't say but. They say, and there's something I want to do better. For example, I want to be a better listener. Then they don't ask for more feedback. What they say is, in fact, I'm not going to ask you for more feedback about the past. Why? I can't change the past anyway. I'm going to ask you for ideas for the future. If you had the ideas, tell me to be a positive and open-minded listener in the future, what would they be? The person talks. You sit there, shut up, listen, take notes, say thank you. Don't judge and critique. Just say thank you. You never promise to do what they say. Leadership's not a popularity contest. You say, I cannot promise to do everything everyone suggests. I can promise to listen to everybody, to think of the ideas and do what I can. Look, I can't change the past. My mistakes in the past, all I can say is I'm sorry. I cannot change the past. I can change the future. And you know what? I can't get better at everything. I can certainly get better at this one thing. And if you do not mind, I'm going to involve you moving forward and ask you to help me get better. That's it.
Yeah, it's a great concept because human nature, oftentimes we feel like we have to justify feedback or retort or explain it. And it's a great discipline, as you said, to be able to, as you put it, just say thank you for the feedback.
Look,
And
I
then
have a
move
LinkedIn
forward.
post about this. I've reviewed 360 feedback from thousands of leaders. How often have I ever received feedback that sounds like this? You know, boss, we think you're a great leader because we love the quality of your excuses. Yeah, I never read that. I really have never read that in my life. We love your excuses. Nobody likes your excuses. Don't bother with your stupid excuses. Nobody wants to hear them anyway.
So, I mean, we live in a world right now, which, the leadership that's on display on a global scale is quite different than what we're talking about here. What's your advice to leaders? And I live in Canada, so there's tariffs and all kinds of stuff going on. What's your advice to leaders in Canada as they deal
My
with?
advice is quite simple. I only deal with issues where I'm an expert. I am not an expert on any macroeconomic issues, on Canada, on global U.S. politics. So my answer is, back to what I taught earlier, I am not an expert.
Amazing. And so more so on the mindset. I'm not talking about what to do about the business issues. What would your mindset be to help your organization?
Well, my mindset for you as a human being is simple. You ask a question. This is in, I think, my book, Triggers. Am I willing at this time to make the investment required to make a positive difference on this topic? If the answer is yes, do it. If the answer is no, take a deep breath and let it go. Put your time and energy where you're going to do something about it. You know what you're going to do about terrorists in Canada? Absolutely nothing. You're not going to change this. I'm not going to change this. We could talk about it all day. It's a complete and total waste of time.
Thank you. So tell me about the book Triggers. I know that's one of the other books that's been very popular. What are some of the other, call it the top 3 triggers that we have to deal with, and how do we approach those?
Well, the idea of triggers is to look at our environment and the impact our environment has on our behavior. Because, you want to quit smoking, don't surround yourself with people who smoke. You want to quit drinking, don't hang out in bars. One example I give in the book is making destructive comments about other people, a terrible habit. So my wife and I go out to dinner one night, and we notice at the end of the night, we're making all these nasty comments about people. We work with some of these people. That wasn't nice. And we normally don't do that. So we're talking, why did we do that? That wasn't good. We realized that's all they did is make nasty comments about people. And then after a while, we say, ha, 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 it's all funny. Well, it's not really funny. We're stabbing other people in the back and laughing at them. I wouldn't want someone to do that to me. Why am I doing it to somebody else? Well, if you put yourself in an environment where everybody does that, then it happens. Alan Mulally goes to Ford. He says, we're going to change the culture. And by the way, not next year, now. How about that nasty comments about other people? Zero tolerance for bad behavior like that. You do not bum rap your peers. You don't laugh at other people. You don't put them down. It's not funny. Zero tolerance. Well, you want to change or not? Stop that. By the way, the average American spends about 65% of all communication is spent on A, somebody talking about how smart, special, or wonderful they are, listening to that, plus B, somebody talking about how dumb, stupid somebody else says, they're listening to that. 65% of all interpersonal communication is spent on that. Quit doing that. I did a LinkedIn survey this last month. The average person, 4.5 hours a week complaining about the boss, upper management. That doesn't even count complaining about the weather and the traffic. Just complaining about my boss, upper management, or the company. 4.5 hours a week spent. That's average. A lot of people spend over 10 hours a week complaining. You want to improve productivity? Quit doing that. Hey, you want to be in better shape? You say you don't have time to work out? Hey, you got 4.5 hours a week there. Cut that in half. You can spend 2 hours a week working out.
Yeah, no, and look, as I mentioned before, I was a finance professional, and we used to do a lot of complaining, but
you didn't just say no again, did you?
Is that $20, Marshall?
40. You've done it now. I'm not sure
40,
you said it, but it sounded a little like that to me. You kind of mumbled through it, but I thought that was kind of it. Yeah.
Thank you. So as a finance professional, we used to do a lot of complaining, and I came across this book called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And he had a rule, and he'd been through a life-threatening illness, a horrific car accident, and he came up with this rule of 5 minutes of complaining or less per day. And I actually implemented that on my team, and it was transformative. And now I actually know when I start catching myself getting a little negative or complaining, I stop. And it's been completely transformative for me. And, back to you saying, am I making a positive difference is a question I try to ask myself. And is this going to be helpful? So it's, it's a discipline, and it takes folks like yourself. I love how you're kind of helping me understand, look, here's the words you're using. I'm going to be much more conscious of it. So thank you for that.
Good.
One of the things I love you talking about is your Buddhist philosophy, right? And you talk about, here's how it's helped you in life. And in my book, I actually profiled a gentleman. His name's Bhante Saranapala. He's called the Urban Buddhist Monk. And he's done so many great things in Toronto around the world. And I consider him one of the happiest people I've ever met. He's always got a smile on his face. And you also tell a story about two flight attendants, and one is miserable and one is happy because they make that choice. So can you maybe connect the Buddhist philosophy and that approach to those stories?
Yeah, well, now there are many schools of Buddhism. Now, I'm not a metaphysical Buddhist. I'm a philosophical Buddhist. So I'm not talking about the religious elements of it or spirits or that kind of stuff. As a way of life, though, to me, I like Buddhism. Buddha, the metaphorical Buddha, who knows if there was really a Buddha, but the metaphorical Buddha was brought up very rich. And he was able to sneak outside of the palace 3 times. And he was protected from life. The first trip, he learned people get old. Ugh, that's not so good. Second trip, what's that? People get sick. Number 3, people died. Old, sick, die. He said, all that money in the world, still going to get old, sick, and die. His father, the king, tried to make him happy by giving him more. He learned more doesn't work. He went out in the woods and starved himself, tried to be happy with less. He learned, didn't work either. Finally realized something. Can never be happy with more, never be happy with less. So only one thing you can never be happy with, what you have, only one time now and only one place here. See, you didn't know this, but to all of you listeners out there, I'm going to share the exact location of Nirvana. You didn't know this was part of the podcast here. Nirvana, I'm going to tell you where it is. Are we ready? Nirvana is listening to some old bald guy in a green T-shirt talk about life. This is it. It's not out there someplace. It's in here. You're not going to find it here. You're not going to find it.
I love that. So how do you find it? What are some steps to do that?
You've already found it. It's here.
Amazing. So I love how you tell the story of, you're 97 years old and you're, ready to move on. I'd love those life lessons that you've shared with so many amazing people around the world.
Well, that's a good thing to finish with. So let's finish with that. So the final advice I give everybody is take a deep breath. Now imagine that the first thing is I'm going to give some one more bit of advice before we do that. This is some of the best advice I ever give people. Breathe. Smile. Take a deep breath. To your hand like this, hand. Forgive other people for being who they are. Forgive mommy and daddy. Forgive the spouse who dumped you. Forgive other people for being who they are. 2, forgive yourself for expecting them to be somebody else. They're not somebody else. They are who they are. Forgive them, forgive yourself, and forgive yourself for being a human. You're just a human. It's okay. Forgive yourself. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect here. Now, final advice. You're 95 years old, you're on that deathbed. Here comes the last breath. But right before you take the last breath, you're given a beautiful gift. The ability to go back in time and talk to the person listening to me right now. The ability to go back in time and help this younger person. What advice would that wise 95-year-old you, who knows what mattered in life, what didn't, what was important, and what wasn't, what advice would that wise old person have for the you that's listening to me right now? Well, my friends interviewed a bunch of people who are dying. They asked this question: what advice would you have? Number one theme: be happy now. On the personal side, be happy now. Not next week, not next month, not next year. How do we find happiness? Quit looking for it. Be happy now. That's it. It's here. You don't have to, it's not out there somewhere. You're not going to find it out there. There's only one place you can ever find happiness, right here. Number two is friends and family. Don't get so busy climbing the corporate ladder and forget the people who love you. And then number three, if you have a dream, go for it. Because you don't go for it when you're 40, you're not going to do it when you're 80. Business fuss isn't much different. Number one, life is short. You talk about this. Look, you might as well love what you do. Don't love what you do. Find something else, But it's too short to be miserable. Number two is help people. Main reason to help people has nothing to do with money or status. It's 95-year-old, you'll be proud. Why are you doing this podcast for? You want to help people. That's why you're doing it. You're not doing it to get rich. I'm not getting paid here. Just doing it to help people. And then finally, like if we help one person on this podcast, it's a good use of both of our time. And then final advice, go for it. The world's changing, life's changing, do its things right. May not win. Hey, at least you tried. Old people, we seldom regret the risk we take and fail. We regret the risk we failed to take. And finally, as I've grown older in life, I'm 76 now, my mission is pretty simple. You person listening out there, my mission involves you, and it's pretty simple. All I want to do is one thing: help you as a real human being, not some abstraction or theory. You have a little better life. That's all. If somebody listening has a little better life based on this conversation, it's a good conversation. So on LinkedIn, for example, on my LinkedIn, now it's up to 1.6 million followers, and on my LinkedIn, maybe somebody reads what I wrote 60,000 times every week. And I get maybe 1,200 engagements from that. Those 60,000, let's say each person had a better 1 minute. That's all. 1 minute. Maybe smile, laugh, think. A better minute. That's a lot of minutes.
Yeah, Marshall, thank you. I mean, honestly, you are such a gift to the world. And, in preparation for this podcast, I probably listened to about 10 of your podcasts, and I'm generally walking or doing something and I have a smile on my face. So you've had a massive impact on me and the circles around me. I coach a soccer team, and I feel so positive when I listen to you or I read a few pages of your book every morning. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time, and I know my listeners will love it. So keep doing the amazing work you're doing, Marshall. You're an inspiration to me and everyone around me.
Thank you very much. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Marshall.